In the UK, our neighbours often live too close to home.
What are you doing?
So it's no surprise 1 in 5 of us have been in an argument with next door. Coming up, blood is spilt in Barnsley.
He was coming up the drive here with blood all over his arm. I just couldn't believe that someone would do that to someone else.
Following years of neighbourly dispute in Scotland, a family falls apart.
It became too much for, the marriage in the end. I think this would have broken any family.
And house prices tumble when squatters move in next door.
The estate agent said, in his opinion, between 25 and 35% has come off the value of my property.
In Barnsley, retired magistrate Barry Roddis and his wife Phyllis have lived on this peaceful street for 14 years.
It was a quiet neighbourhood. A lot of people were older people like us. You could look through our front window and see all over Barnsley. And that's why we liked it here.
The couple have been happily married for 53 years.
Handsome-looking man when you were in your 20s.
I used to like showing my body off.
Oh, yeah, you liked flattery.
I was proud of that.
The Roddises were friendly with most of their neighbours. But then in 2002, they had someone new move in next door.
I think the first time we saw our new neighbour was when he was in the garden.
It was soon clear to the Roddises this wasn't your average neighbour.
He bought this purple hearse and he was to ride up and down in it. And the registration on it was RIP.
And just a matter of months after moving in, he gave the Roddises cause for alarm. He had turned his driveway into a junkyard.
It was a complete eyesore. It was like living at the side of a scrapyard. All the spare parts were all over the front here. There was old cars with bonnets up, with rubbish in, old seats, you name it, it was there.
It looked to the Roddises like their neighbour had started up his own car repair shop.
It definitely comes right up onto his drive, resting against our fence.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd take the bonnet off first and the bumpers, and then it'd work its way through to the engine. More cars keep coming in. We were at it all the time.
And it wasn't just cars that had the Roddises worried.
They were just legs and a bit of body. And he stuck them underneath a car, didn't he? Legs with boots on.
His increasingly bizarre behaviour was causing alarm. It wasn't just Barry and Phyllis who were fed up with his mechanical mayhem. Neighbours joined forces to petition to the council, and the local authority began an investigation into his alleged business.
The police gave us this photograph, which was taken by an helicopter. There are that many vehicles, how many is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
5 down that side.
On that side.
The council called a meeting to sort the issue out, and Barry was asked to be the representative for the neighbours.
Pause off.
It was a decision that was to have a great impact on Barry and Phyllis.
I was sat there and he came walking through the doors. And he looked at me as though, he could have knifed me.
Their neighbour claimed he was fixing the vehicles as a hobby, but the council concluded it was an illegal workshop and instructed him to remove the cars. In the aftermath, Barry felt he held him responsible for the council's
He thought that you were the one that grassed him to the council.
In the weeks to come, it wouldn't only be graphic messages that Barry and Phyllis would have to face. Coming up, a proud Scotsman goes to war over his former castle.
He started burning stuff, dumping stuff. We really had no idea that we would get a neighbour like the one we have now.
And a couple's once peaceful home is threatened by squatters.
2 or 3 hours later, they'd broken into the property again.
I sort of stay indoors because of them being there.
Nestled amidst the wilds of the east coast of Scotland lies Ecclesgreg Castle. It's the former home to the Forsyth Grants, a proud family with a distinguished military history.
WFG, it's William Forsyth Grant who built the castle. The estate actually came from my great-great-grandmother's side of the family.
This is Maurice Forsyth Grant, a descendant of the original owners. Unfortunately for him, though, hard times that fell on the family meant the castle was abandoned and later sold. Only a small part of the estate and some outbuildings were kept by the family.
And we thought by selling it, it would get new owners that had the money to sort of reinvest in it and keep it as a beautiful building.
Enter a local businessman. Maurice had high hopes when the company owner bought the castle and 84 acres of the estate at auction.
First impressions, we just took him at face value. He talked the talk. He supposedly had the best intentions for the castle.
In May 1999, following the sale, the company owner applied for permission to convert the castle into a 60-bedroom hotel, as well as chalets, lodges and a dower house on the land. And closest neighbour to this proposed redevelopment was Maurice Forsyth Grant.
This is our boundary right here. We have a great view, but we are in close proximity to our neighbour as well. We try to get on with all our neighbours. There's nothing to be gained from fighting with your neighbours.
But Maurice had very clear ideas on what he wanted to see happen to his former ancestral home.
And we thought by selling it, it would get new owners that had the money to sort of reinvest in it. We hoped that someone would take the responsibility of maintaining it.
But when the company's plans for the newly sold castle and estate went public, Maurice felt that the changes weren't for the better.
We, as did most of the neighbours around here, had grave concerns about what was being proposed. I mean, basically, we wanted guarantees regarding the supposed works that were going to take place here, and we wanted guarantees that they would be done properly and we wouldn't, none of us would be interfered with.
Maurice and the majority of neighbours living around the castle shared the same access roads and were worried about the impact of the development.
The requested planning permissions would have affected us. They were being put forward in a way that would very much affect us where they didn't have to.
So they objected to the plans, and as a result, in 2002, they were put on hold. Meanwhile, Maurice had plans for his own properties, an important source of income but in need of development.
There are 2 houses there, and we've got one here, Dunlosset, and we've got one behind at Ardtala. It's our intention to rebuild these, bring them up to a modern standard, make them much more attractive than they are at the moment.
Now it was Maurice's neighbours' turn to object.
Dear Mr. Cree, we wish to strongly object to the above on the following basis.
The company owner objected to Maurice's scheme and planning permission was refused.
Most of his objections were completely unreasonable. We had relevant and real concerns about what was being attempted. His objections just don't make any sense at all.
With both neighbours disrupting the other's plans, there was deadlock on the estate. Maurice was starting to feel his neighbour was trying to intimidate him.
You know, that's when all the vehicles started getting dumped around our doorways. And, you know, the roads became blocked, and you know, usually not just in one way, but in multiple ways. You know, fallen trees, vehicles parked up against the fallen trees in the middle of the road.
Even though the vehicles belonged to the company and were on their land, Morris felt they were too close for comfort.
He started burning stuff, dumping stuff all around our buildings, you know, on an almost daily basis. We realised pretty quick what he was about. It was basically a campaign just to run us down, make us want to sell the home farm.
Morris and some of his other neighbours started to notice that parts of the access routes to the estate were falling into disrepair.
When I came here originally, it was quite good. He's never maintained it. It's just steadily deteriorated from year to year. It's absolutely hellish.
Sometimes you get these big lumps of concrete jumping up and hitting the underside of the car. I mean, they're not small. Are really dangerous. You can buckle a wheel on that, you can break suspension on that.
Morris claims that it is the company's responsibility as the castle's owners to maintain the roads.
I mean, one of the original crosscuts was here. And that would have taken all the surface water down that ditch down there. He actually ripped them all out and concreted over it. The day will come when I think I will manage to get a kayak from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill by the volume of water that goes down here.
As well as the terrible roads, Morris was also appalled by the state of the castle itself.
Basically, all the roofs pretty much have collapsed now. But unfortunately, it's just gone to rack and ruin.
But in the weeks that followed, Morris's old ancestral home would have an even bigger impact on his life.
We put up a pretty game fight for a very long time, but I think this would have broken any family.
In Barnsley, Barry and Phyllis Roddis were faced with a nightmare next door.
It was a complete eyesore. There was old cars with bonnets up, with rubbish in.
As the spokesperson who helped to get the illegal scrap business shut down, Barry felt he was the focus of his neighbours' anger. From then on, things took a turn for the worse, when Barry discovered his neighbour doing some work on a boundary wall.
I said, make sure that you don't damage the wall. It's our boundary wall. And I got quite a lot of verbal abuse. I wasn't looking at him then. He'd got his spade and lifted it high, and the next minute I knew it had hit me on the arm. And he just walked away.
And he was coming up the drive here with blood all over his arm, and it was dripping onto the drive here. And I said to him, what on earth's happened? I just couldn't believe that someone would do that to someone else, hit them with a spade.
He is a total coward. He'll hide behind things and is evil, absolutely evil.
The police were called. In his witness statement, their neighbour claimed that he struck his neighbour by accident and that Barry had grabbed his hair.
Which is an impossibility because we've got a metal ornamental fence on top of our wall with spikes. And if he'd have leaned over, he would have got a spike in his stomach.
Despite the attack, Barry Roddis chose not to press charges.
He says, I've got to live here, just, you know, let it go. Might be a one-off thing.
Was it a one-off thing?
Well, no.
But he then found another way to make Barry and Phyllis's life a misery. He developed a taste for music.
Well, I'm in the kitchen here, and you could hear the music all around.
It appeared to Barry and Phyllis that their neighbour was pointing his speakers directly at their house.
You could even hear the music in the hall.
It could go on while 10, 11, 12, sometimes beyond midnight. You couldn't sleep.
And it was obvious he was playing mind games with us to drive us crazy.
Their neighbour claims he had to have his music turned up full blast due to a build-up of wax in his ears.
He's continually playing mind games, trying to destroy both of us mentally.
3 years and numerous complaints later, their neighbour was finally given an ASBO. It banned him from repairing motor vehicles at home and playing loud music at night. That still allowed him 13 hours during the day when he could play his stereo. Despite the ASBO, Barry and Phyllis claim that he continued to harass them.
Sometimes he used to stand and just stare if I was walking up, like intimidating.
Everywhere she turned, there he was.
He used to look over his fence with his elbows on the top of the fence, just staring at you and just saying, "Are you all right, love?"
With no end to the dispute in sight, the neighbour's vendetta towards his elderly neighbours was about to take an intrusive turn.
We noticed one day that there was a CCTV camera.
For the past 40 years, a peaceful South London street has been home to Richard Chadwick and his wife Philomena.
Yeah, Richard, cup of tea?
Thank you.
The Chadwicks have lived in Streatham Village for nearly all their married life.
We moved into this house in 1969. We'd been married for 1 year. So it was the first time we had a chance of a house with a little garden.
I remember coming out here in the summer and thinking, well, it's a nice, neat little garden. As you know, I'm not much of a gardener, but it was nice, neat and tidy.
I know, but what sold the house to me was when I looked at the garden, I just saw 3 walls. It was so private.
Nobody could look over their garden wall and see what we were doing. She could come out in the nude if she wanted to, but I wouldn't come out in the nude.
No, you wouldn't. But I did.
We've enjoyed every minute living here because of the village atmosphere, and we've always had, particularly next door to us, good neighbours.
For years, they've been an active part of this close community. And Richard has always done everything he could to maintain this way of life.
I will fight for something to the end if I think there's been an injustice. And as an example of that, in 1973, because the council wanted to demolish the whole Streatham Village community, the Streatham Village residents, as it were, formed an action group to fight the council, and eventually, after 3 years of fighting, with the help of the local press, who highlighted what we were doing at the time, we won our case.
But now he has a new fight on his hands, after some undesirable new arrivals suddenly moved into the run-down, empty building next door.
It was a bit unnerving to think that somebody could be actually in the property which I knew had recently been sold.
It was to be the Chadwicks' worst nightmare. A group of squatters had taken over the property.
When I got here, I noticed that there was a lock on here had been tampered with. So a neighbour of mine, who happened to be over there at the time, came over, and we both suspended and thought, well, possibly there's squatters in there. So he was good enough to change the lock here. We both went inside here and changed the lock. 2 or 3 hours later, I came down to investigate. They'd broken into the property again. So we didn't actually keep up, but there's not a lot we could do because they were, in fact, in the property and obviously weren't coming out.
Being an ex-housing officer, Richard had experience of dealing with squatters.
Some squatters will ransack the property. I've been known to take out baths, toilets, sinks, and completely leave it gutted, and they would take out whatever they need. They knew exactly where they stood, and if they stood their ground, nobody was going to evict them. They'd obviously got some legal advice from somewhere.
With the squatters there to stay, it would only be a matter of time before the neighbourhood dispute turned nasty.
One of them in particular was getting very aggressive and went to hit me.
Coming up, rack and ruin at his former Highland home takes its toll on Maurice Forsyth Grant.
I've probably spent months and months of nights not sleeping.
And in Yorkshire, the campaign of terror continues.
We can't do anything without him trying to spy on us.
I knew that if I'd have got hold of him, I wouldn't have let go of him.
In Scotland, a neighbour dispute on a grand scale was underway.
He's made our lives difficult in every conceivable way.
And for one man, it's dominated his life for years.
We really had no idea that we would get a neighbour like the one we have now. Roofs pretty much have collapsed now.
Despite now living in more modest barracks, just a stone's throw from the castle, Maurice has kept the proud family tradition going on his part of the land.
This is some of the old ancestors. That's William Forsyth Grant. He actually built the castle in 1840. That would have been his uncle. William's father and Joseph, they founded Canada's first bank. That was William's wife.
160 years ago, things were very different for the Forsyth Grants. Once lords of the manor, but today in dispute with the castle's new owners.
You try not to let it affect you, but it's very hard not to. You just acquire a sort of siege mentality. Basically just had to hunker down, try and continue our businesses as best as we could.
Maurice felt his vision of his family's proud past was fading around him.
All this stuff was just sort of towed into the trees and dumped.
But Maurice felt it was all aimed at him. And he has a clear opinion as to why the owners of the castle have allowed the estate to fall into such disrepair.
Basically, make everything around us unattractive to anyone else to buy, and thinking that we would have to sell, he's sort of started this campaign.
While the castle's owners continue to make plans for development, Maurice feels the disruption is making it hard to carry on living on the estate.
Family motto, stand fast, rightly or wrongly.
I've no intention of leaving Ecclescraig. That view is all I need, really. I can forget the mess and the junk being dumped behind us.
The castle's owners declined to comment on any of Maurice's accusations. But all plans for the estate seem to have ground to a halt while both parties continue to object to the other. Maurice feels he is unable to move on.
It certainly cost us probably tens of thousands in lost revenue. I've probably spent months and months of nights not sleeping, just for fretting, anger, because you just have to wear it. You can't get rid of this. It's ever present.
Look, my car for socks for now.
You try not to let it show for the rest of the family. You know, you try to behave normally. All the rest of it, take it on the chin. But it is just really hard. It's really, really hard for year after year after year of this constant attrition. I don't know what I could give to have this resolved.
Do you want to go down and play with your cars, Maxie?
I don't know. There's no way. I don't think it could be resolved.
Following his 13-year battle with the castle's owners, there has been a heavy price to pay for Morris. In 2011, his wife moved out of the family home.
Became too much for, you know, the marriage in the end. But no, we put up a pretty game fight for a very long time. But I think this would have broken any family.
But finally, Morris may have a new focus that might help him forget the castle next door once and for all.
We've got consents for 3 wind turbines at the moment. I mean, it's hard to find a windier site than this. Our motto was always, has always been stand fast, and we will do that. We still have plenty to build with here. And what always rings in my ears is Churchill's words: "We will never surrender."
And hopefully, as he stands firm, the castle and its new owners can look to the future as well. In the Yorkshire town of Barnsley, one man's constant reign of intimidation was driving his neighbours to the brink of despair.
It's like mental torture.
The nightmare neighbour had been given an ASBO for his illegal car scrap business following complaints from the neighbours. For 3 years, he had tormented the Roddises with his antisocial behaviour.
I just couldn't believe that someone would hit them with a spade.
But Barry and Phyllis vowed not to be beaten.
Well, the police advised us to get real evidence.
They decided to install CCTV to catch their neighbour in the act.
This camera here points right up to the corner, takes all that section.
Undeterred, their neighbour decided to play them at their own game.
We noticed one day that there was a CCTV camera on the end of his greenhouse. The camera itself was faced straight directly over to our seat. We thought, well, we can't do anything without him trying to spy on us and watch every move that we make.
Having hounded Barry and Phyllis with loud music, he was now intimidating them with cameras. They had nowhere to go.
We climbed up and he looked over the top. He stayed there for about 10 minutes, then he got down onto the roof for a few minutes and then he got back up again. That's the first incident that we got him to court.
It had taken 7 years, but finally, Barry and Phyllis had the evidence they needed to help send their neighbour to prison. He was given a 4-month jail sentence for breaching his ASBO as a result of intimidation, abusive language and loud music. In court, he claimed that the dispute had caused him anxiety and depression.
I knew that the prison sentence which he was received would not stop the activities towards us.
Upon his release from prison, he was unrepentant. Within weeks, it seemed he was back to his old tricks.
We came in one day from shopping and we noticed that he painted some of the panels. He made spy holes so he could look through and not be seen by the camera. That's another way of intimidating us and saying that I can still do what I want, I can still see you, and you can't do anything to me.
Their neighbour declined to comment about this.
It just shows what type of character he is. It's just everything he's done. Make our life a misery.
But there was even worse still to come for the couple. Their neighbour continued his intimidation. In South London, the sudden arrival of squatters next door to the Chadwicks had shattered the 40 years of peace on their quiet street.
They were, in fact, in the property and obviously weren't coming out.
It quickly became apparent that the couple's privacy was being invaded by these unwelcome arrivals.
Down there is my garden, which is, from that wall there, is barely 20 feet away. It's probably 22 feet high. And the squatters would invariably walk along that wall there or on the flat part near where the glass is situated.
I have the curtains closed a lot, so if they are there, and they don't see me.
But as the squatters became more comfortable at home next door, Richard and Philomena heard and saw a lot more of them.
Sometimes they would put their sunbeds there or just sit there, or even from there. It's not a very nice feeling. They're staring into our bedroom.
Not to mention the constant bongo bashing.
I'd hear music coming from their back garden, so much so that I had to shout at them. They'd be banging on their bongos, there'd be possibly music from a trumpet,
flutes,
a flute, other instruments that would make a noise. Sometimes it'd be in the early evening, not in the daytime.
Sometimes 10 at night.
Sometimes 10 at night, but then I couldn't see them.
In the end,
It got irritated.
I just closed the door, closed the kitchen door and tried to block the noise out.
It was irritating. What would you do? You just want to be quiet. And they're out there enjoying themselves, and we're in there annoying ourselves.
Fed up with the constant disruption, the Chadwicks went to the council.
They've been told, in no uncertain terms, if they continue making a noise, any noise, and if they're made by instruments, they would eventually come down and take their instruments away from them.
The squatters were served a noise abatement notice. But they were here to stay, making themselves more at home and even posting images on the internet.
I think somebody's playing a bongo there, somebody's playing something. It's very difficult to tell, but they're obviously playing some kind of music there. And look at the state of the place underneath there. Oh my, what's that? What is that?
Getting a bit scared now what we're going to see.
But they're on top of the world there, aren't they?
Yeah,
they give
on
you
top
everything.
of the world, yes.
They're on top of the world, paying nothing, and they're getting our south of France suntan at the same time.
Philomena began to spend less and less time in her beloved garden. It soon began to wither as the couple locked themselves inside.
I feel very sad that the garden looks as it looks, very bare, when I think over like 40 odd years of digging it and working it, planting roses and other flowers, always look lovely, always pretty. So at the moment I'm living on memories of the garden, happy memories.
At the time, squatting wasn't a crime, and the only way Richard could hit the squatters was with a noise abatement notice.
To be fair, they have been a bit quieter, I think, when they were served with the notice.
But it wasn't just the noise that was getting under the skin of the Chadwicks.
The rubbish is along here. It's usually piled up to about this height. And it starts here and extends along here. And usually on a, I don't actually see them do it, usually on a Tuesday evening, they start bringing it all out from the garden. Everything gets piled up all along here. And the council, every Wednesday morning, come along and take it away. If I left that rubbish outside my house, or even one bag near my bin, they won't take it away. How's that fair? And I'm paying my rates, and they pay nothing. It's all one-sided.
Coming up, with no end in sight to his squatting hell, Richard ramps up the fight.
As far as we're concerned, we're not going anywhere. I'll stay there with my neighbours.
And in Yorkshire, a nightmare neighbour was up to his old tricks again.
Our old fence had been ripped apart. I just stood and cried.
In South London, the Chadwicks had been living in peace and tranquility for over 40 years. But after the sudden arrival of squatters, they were under siege.
They just want to be quiet. And they're out there enjoying themselves, and we're in there annoying ourselves.
The lack of privacy and noise was unbearable, so Richard went to confront them.
They obviously didn't like it, and one of them in particular was getting very aggressive and went to hit me. And I said, well, why are you remonstrating with me? You're the offenders, you shouldn't be there. And he objected to that, and I said, well, if you hit me, I said, I'm going to go bring the police straight away.
Afraid to tackle the squatters personally, Richard came up with a plan. He went after the owners of the building, a local firm of architects, hoping the boss could rid him of the squatters.
Well, you just can't understand it. He will not respond, he won't talk. I've never spoken to him at all, and Richard has tried to email, or has emailed him, but he's just buried his head in the sand.
In 2012, the Chadwicks finally thought their nightmare was over when the law changed and squatting was made a criminal offence in the UK. Punishable with up to 6 months in prison and a £5,000 fine.
When the law changed, Philomena and I were delighted, but we found out that the police had stopped their action because the squatters had got some legal advice from solicitors that one of the rooms in the property had been regarded as commercial.
Apparently, one of the rooms had been an antique shop. Richard and Philomena were devastated. They were back to square one. The squatters were not committing a criminal offence, so couldn't be arrested.
For want of a better term, they're legal squatters and they had every right to stay there.
The dispute had now been raging for nearly 5 years, and the Chadwicks felt they were no nearer to seeing the squatters removed. And even the option of moving house to escape was scuppered by their unwanted neighbours.
The estate agent has been in Streatham many, many years and completely, Streatham inside out. And he didn't even have to come down to the property. He knew exactly where it was. And he did confirm to me in writing that in view of the squatters living next door, it's a different ball game as far as valuation is concerned. And he said, in his opinion, at least, I think he mentions here, between 25 and 35% has come off the value of my property.
Today, with the law on the squatters' side, Richard feels trapped. With the police and council powerless, he's chasing what he sees as his only hope to get rid of them, the owner of the property.
Are you coming out? Is your staff here? Come and speak to me. I'm quite reasonable. I'm here today to hope that he can see this sign, or anybody else that works for him. I want to communicate with him, find out what he's going to do about getting the squatters outside, out of his premises.
His protest seems to have worked, as Richard soon gets some attention.
Sorry? No, I'm not. No, he's not in the office today. What can I do for you?
Well, I'm here. You're probably aware of the situation. I live next door to these squatters. They've been there nearly 5 years. I've told you.
First of all, they're not these squatters. They're squatters in the property we own. We've been trying to get them out.
These squatters. Don't give me that. They're squatters.
He did not put them in there. We know you know that. Come on, let's be
Let's be reasonable. Who put them in there? Nobody put them in there. They chose themselves. But he's done nothing about getting them out.
We've been trying to get them out.
The architects still pay rates on the property. However, they can't enter the building legally after the squatters changed the locks. The company owner has said he wants them out. As for the squatters, they remain defiant, with one saying, "We're not doing anything wrong. This is a commercial property." The Chadwicks have vowed to fight on.
Can you see my sign? All I want to do is talk to you. The problems will always remain until the law is changed, or the squatters move their own accord, or the owner does something about it, because I can't do anything about it.
There's a much, much bigger picture, which is the squatters and getting them evicted. That is our main goal. That's our only goal. That's all that's left.
So for now, they are stuck with their nightmare neighbours next door. In Yorkshire, Barry and Phyllis Roddis were paying the price of a nightmare neighbour on their doorstep and were now at breaking point.
He was playing mind games with us to drive us crazy.
For 7 years, their neighbour had been the tormentor, which even ended up in physical injury. And now he was out of prison.
I felt that I couldn't help anybody. I couldn't help to look after my own family.
After endless abuse, Barry was finally beaten.
Come on now. It really affected my husband over the years, and it caused him a lot of mental problems. And he used to come out here with the dog many a time late in the evening, and I'd look through the window and I'd see him with the dog trying to gather himself. And that was all to do with the depression caused. I think it reached its lowest ebb when I went through into our bedroom, and he just broke down, and he was really, really crying because he just couldn't cope with any more pressure.
It was depression. I couldn't do anything at all. I'd just given up.
As Barry struggled to cope with the stress of constant harassment, their neighbour was about to strike again.
We came from shopping one day, and we walked in the back gate there, and our old fence had been ripped apart. It was breaking point for me. I just stood and cried, and I said, I can't cope with it anymore.
The dispute had reached a tipping point, driving his neighbours to the brink of despair.
I knew that if I'd have got hold of him, I wouldn't have let go of him.
But somehow they found the strength and enough CCTV evidence for one last fight.
He was arrested and bailed not to come back to his property.
In May 2013, their neighbour was found guilty of 5 breaches of his ASBO, including harassing Barry and Phyllis, of photographing them and damaging their fence. He was sent back to prison for 12 months.
Well, my future is that we get a new neighbour, a good neighbour, and we get his health back.
Isn't it nice to be peaceful?
He declined to tell his side of the story. His house is now up for sale.
We got him in the end. We got him in the end.
Next time, a nuisance neighbour intimidates residents on a Dagenham estate.
The way he portrays himself and the way he acts makes me think that he is threatening.
There's a thief at large in an Anglesey village.
I opened this side of my wallet and it had gone.
And in Somerset, a dispute turns to menace.
Right in your line of sight is a man standing at the end of your garden.
He caused trouble for me, so why should I have to be a nice man today?